Yeah, give me a second. We're live on Instagram, but there's two things I need to do to click on the YouTube live. So everybody just bear with me, but I want to say hi to everybody in the chat, whether you're watching on Daily Web Designs and or UI UX Daily Tips. And I think we are now live on YouTube. So thank you guys for your patience. Howdy everybody in the chat. We have Maeve, we have Hampus, howdy doody, NewForm fam. Okay. So we have as usual, we've got 2 workshops each and every month. And today we are going to be working on, I'm actually not going to steal today's thunder, but I'm going to leave that for Cole. The only things that I'm going to share with you guys today is that if you guys have not yet submitted your challenge, what is it? The end of this week? What is it? The 21st? I think it's this weekend
20th.
is the 20th.
I think it's the 20th.
Let's just double check. Let's be good. Let's just double check. I'm pretty sure there's a 20 in it. Okay. Let's actually look at the date for our challenge submission. Yes, it's the 21st. Okay, so we got 3 days and 14 hours to be specific. Okay, so as you guys know, we got this awesome workshop happening. We try to bring workshops to you guys so that you guys have something cool, new, great idea, inspiration to bring to your challenge submission. So, howdy Mimi, we got Cole in chat, we have Den, Ari, howdy doody. All right, I think other than that, if you guys want to build out whatever we are building today, link is in the description on YouTube. If you guys are watching on Instagram, you want a bigger screen and or you want access to this template and the other templates that we have built in our workshops, please go ahead, comment YouTube on Instagram, and we'll send you an automatic DM to come on over to our YouTube channel, give you the link to our live stream, and the link for everything that we are going to be building today is in the link in the description, as well as our other workshops as well. So with that said, Cole, what are we doing today?
Yeah, so we can go ahead and share my screen, Brandon, and instead of telling you guys, I will show you. So yeah, just let me know when it's shared, Brandon. And yeah, so what we're going to be building today is a counter section. It's kind of, I don't have the best words for it, so I'm just going to show you on screen in a second here. But yeah, so has it been shared, Brandon?
Sorry, yes.
Okay, perfect.
We're in there.
Sorry. Okay, yeah, I can see it on the stream now. Perfect. Okay. Yeah, so I'm just going to refresh here real quick because it's kind of a loading effect. But yeah, so this is we just have an image up top just for fun because the real magic happens down below as we scroll. So we have a little bit of text here. And then this is kind of the main function we're building out today, this number counter. And let me do that again. Let me reload just in case you didn't see it the first time. So we count up from 0 to whatever number here. We're going to be using a tiny bit of code, but I'm also going to show you how to make it fully responsive. We're going to be using some repeaters. Yeah, some really cool stuff. So yeah, let's get into it. First of all, I'm going to be using Figma to kind of lay this out and start us off. So let me hop over to Figma real quick here. And I have this whole section here. Now I don't have the mobile version. Normally I have it next to it, but this one is pretty simple to lay out, so we didn't bother for this one. However, we are using a lot of auto layout here, and that's going to be important when we go to import it into Wix, because Wix is actually going to recognize that, and it's going to kind of copy that, and that's going to make our lives actually a lot easier. So let me, over in the the left panel here, let me break this down a little bit more. So we have our 3 frames and they're all stacked side by side. And then we have this line on the left and all of our text on the right. And then we have a vertical stack. So a couple different kind of frames and auto layouts to kind of get this to work properly. But this is going to make adjusting those sizes when we switch down from desktop to tablet to mobile really, really easy and very intuitive for us. Okay, so let me go ahead and collapse this back down. Now, if you've been watching the live streams for a little while now, this next part is going to be pretty familiar to you. But yeah, we'll just kind of breeze through it. So in order to import from Figma to Wix Studio, the first thing you're going to need to do is let's hop into my new my fresh Wix site here. So I just made this. There's nothing else in it. There's no other pages. it's just this. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to come to the top left up here and hit these 3 lines and then hit tools and import from Figma. Okay. This is going to open up an icon on the left here. Once you do this once, you don't need to do it again on the same site. If you make a new site, you will need to do that one step again. And then it's asking for a link here. So to get that link, all we need to do is come over to share and hit copy link. If you are in the browser, you can just come up to the very top here, copy it, and you're good to go. But otherwise, you can do that, and we can just paste it in and hit connect. Okay. While that's connecting, I'm going to come over here and we're going to click Figma to Wix Studio. And we have this pop-up. So we're going to hit set up export. If you've already done this, you can just hit skip setup. But yeah, exactly what we just did. It's going to tell us what to do. And we already copied the Figma URL and then we pasted it in. Okay, so we're going to check I'm done connecting my file and click next. Okay, this next part is very important, but we're going to talk about it in a second. So I'm going to skip through that for now. Now, if you were to import like a full site, importing your styles is a recommended first step right here. We're just doing this one section today, so we won't bother with that, but we will go and hit export frame just like so. You see it show up here. Note down this frame width. That's very important. It'll also show up on Wix Studio, and I'll show you what to do with that in a second. But as long as you're seeing the right frame here, then we can just go ahead and click export frame. That is all you'll need to do from the Figma side of things. Everything else will be in Wix Studio. So let me hop back over here now. And first of all, we can see our design popping up here, which is very, very good. And we also see this kind of notification here that our Figma reference width is 1440. So what we need to do is we need to match this width to this width. So that's as simple as just coming in here and typing out 1440, and then that error goes away, and that is it. Okay. We have also before talked about when to import as a page, a section, or a container. Brief rundown here. If you have kind of like a big long page in Figma, you want to export it at the same time. That's what page is for. Personally, I rarely use page. I prefer to go section by section. It just makes, when you go to make it responsive, it makes things a touch easier. So that's why I prefer it. And then containers, obviously, if you have just a small container, it's not a whole section, it's not a whole page, it's just a small section, or it's just a small container, then you can just go ahead and put in a section here, okay? And then we can just go ahead and hit add to site, okay? Now, this is gonna take a second to load in, mostly because we do have a lot of that auto layout in there, so there are a lot of containers that we're gonna be building out. But as we can see, since we've used auto layout, it's going to come in pretty much perfectly to how we have it here. Yeah, there's going to be very few kind of issues because we have that auto layout that we're using. Okay. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to move this other section up to the top. This kind of is a section.
Cole, really quick.
Yeah.
Sorry. Maybe he's asking in the chat, are we pulling through? And I think you did this just very quickly, but just to recap, did you pull in this as a section?
This is a section, yes. So in here, it defaults to page, but I believe we click section and then we hit add to site. So yes, as a section.
You got it, Mavis. A section.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Okay. No worries. All right. So this section, normally you'd this wouldn't be a header, right? You'd have this kind of buried somewhere in your site. So users would scroll to it. And for that reason, since it requires us to kind of scroll onto it and then we start counting up, I'm going to make this section up here. I forgot to import an image, but I'm just going to make this a little bit taller so that it kind of takes up our full viewport here. So then when we go ahead and preview, we actually have something to scroll through. Okay. So this is actually looking really, really good. I am going to make, actually, we'll do that in a second. First of all, you'll notice that this stack looks very, very similar. This section is very similar to this section, which is very similar to this section, okay? And they are very similar. The only thing that's changing is the text. The actual layout of it is not changing at all. And so that is actually the perfect use case for us to come in here and use a repeater, Now, if you haven't really used repeaters before, we haven't actually used them a ton on the live streams here. They're really, really useful. Anything you put in one card is going to be propagated to all of the other items here, but we can go in and change the text between cards, which obviously we need. Otherwise, we would have the exact same thing on each and every one of them. Now, another nice thing about repeaters, which we're not going to cover today, but you could actually hook the whole thing up to a CMS, which means that you wouldn't even need to really edit a whole lot of stuff. You would set up one of these layouts within the repeater card, and then you would just hook it up to the CMS, and the CMS would handle propagating all the data across it. However, yeah, we're not going to worry about that too much today. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this stack a little bit out of the way, and then we'll get this repeater down here. And then I'm just going to grab one of these kind of main stacks here and attach it to our repeater, just like so. And then you can see that the same exact thing has popped up both here and here. However, we can change the content in it. So for example, I'm going to come up here and we'll copy this exceptional efficiency and I'll paste that in there just like so. And you can see it's been pasted in and it hasn't kind of propagated across. Okay, so that's good to see. Now, obviously, since we're changing text sizes, exceptional efficiency is a lot longer than rapid growth. I'm also going to come in here and we're going to, first of all, come up to the top left here. And I'm going to turn on advanced spacings here. So I think it's in sizing preferences, always show advanced. That's what I'm going to turn on here. And what that's going to allow us to do is now I can click on this and we can set this to max content. So that's going to make the container as wide as it possibly can go before it kind of runs out of content. Okay, this is really, really good if we need to have some text in there and we don't always know how long the text is going to be. For example, if you had a CMS with like 100 different items in there and you didn't know exactly how long each and every word was going to be, you would set it to max content and then it would always be on one line, never on two. Okay, and that's kind of exactly what we want here. Okay, and ooh, okay, I don't know why that happened. I think my screen's still shared, Brandon, is it?
Yep, you're still good to go.
Okay, perfect. Excuse me. That's good. That's very good. All right. And so the nice thing about repeaters is we made that one change to max content here, and then we'll see that change is actually reflected in all of these text sections now. So you change one in one place and it propagates to all of the other ones, which is really, really good to see. Okay, so now it's kind of just a matter of copying some stuff over. Like I said, if this was a CMS, we wouldn't really need to deal with that. Okay, same thing down below. This width is 100%. Actually, we'll leave it at 100%. We don't necessarily need max width here, especially since we're going to be on two lines instead of just one. If we were to set this to max width, it would just be far too wide. So I am just going to copy this text over just like so. Perfect. Okay. Now, when we are working with these numbers here, numbers are interesting in that they're kind of really different sizes. Okay. So what do I mean? Like a 1, for example, is really skinny, right? But a 5 is pretty wide. An 8 is pretty wide. 0 is very wide, right? It actually opens on another line. So that's something to keep in mind because another important factor here, if I refresh real quick, and we scroll down, we start at 0, but then we end up at 200 or 97, okay? And so obviously we start at 1 digit and we end up at 2 or we end up at 3. But we want this K and we want this percent to kind of hug to the number as closely as possible, okay? So if I go ahead and refresh again, you'll see that it starts right beside it and then it kind of moves out based on how wide the number is. And that's exactly what we want. That's exactly the effect that we kind of want to achieve. And the way we're going to do that is with max content once again. So first of all, let me hop into the layers panel here. And first of all, you'll see that we have a container here. This isn't stacked. And the reason it's not stacked is because Figma likes to line things up both in the horizontal and vertical direction when you stack something, but we only want it lined up in the horizontal direction, which Wix is actually perfect at. So I waited to do that in Wix instead of in Figma. But all I'm going to do is I'm just going to select these two, and you'll see stack pop up right here. And I'm just going to click stack. Okay, that is it. I'm going to set this to 4 pixels as well. And I'm also going to orient it to there. Okay, now we have a, let's see, this container is holding that. Okay, so yeah, we have a container and then we have a stack within it. Now we could leave it as it is, but I want to get rid of this container up here. We don't really need it. Okay, so all I'm going to do is we're going to grab our stack. I'm going to drag it out and attach it to our outer stack. And then you'll see everything gets a lot taller. Then we can just come in, grab this container, hit delete, and now we just have our stack here with our numbers in there. So that's kind of the first step. So now our numbers are going to stay exactly the same distance, 4 pixels is what we've set, away from the X and away from the percentage sign and the K that we're going to add in. Okay. However, if we were to make this longer, right? If we went from 5 to 50, we are going to create a new line, and we don't want that. So instead, what I'm going to do is let's hop into text here, and I'm going to set this to max content. I'm also going to come into the X here, and we're going to do the same thing, set that to max content. That's more so just to make our life a little easier, because an X and a percentage sign are actually pretty different in terms of width. A percentage sign is a lot wider. Okay. So I hope that's kind of making some sense so far. So now it's going to be super easy for us to come in here and set this to our numbers. And you'll see that everything does kind of expand the way that we wish for it to. And that's really good to see. Okay, so we have 200, and then this is going to be a K, just like so. Okay, so that is good to see. I'm going to go ahead and delete this stack now. We've kind of copied everything we need to from it, and so we can go ahead and delete it. Next, I'm going to come into this repeater here, and we are going to set the height on this to auto, because it doesn't need to be kind of the full height. It's just going to kind of hug to our content now, which is good to see. And then finally, in our item, we can also turn off this background so that we have just our plain white background behind it. Okay, awesome. So that is looking really, really good. And so yeah, if we go ahead and preview this on desktop, you'll see that everything looks good, right? Everything kind of expands up and shrinks down, kind of for desktop. And tablet, it starts to look okay, but our lines are kind of getting a little bit away from us. And then obviously on mobile, it's much too small. Okay, so we need to kind of come in here and make some quick changes. Now, before I do that, one thing I'll note is we talked about this in a previous one, and I'll talk about it again. So we have a max width here. Okay, so anytime that you're scaling content up, it's going to get larger because Wix has kind of these scaling pixels or these percentages. So it means that as the screen gets larger, your content gets larger too. That's okay, but if you have a really big screen, then the content's going to be massive. It doesn't really make sense. So what we're going to do to kind of fix that is on the section itself, we have this apply max width toggle, okay? And we can just turn that on. And so that means that if I come back into the preview here and we start scaling up, once I hit 1600 pixels, if you keep your eye up here, once I hit 1600, then everything is going to stop scaling. And the screen's just going to keep getting wider, but our content isn't actually going to get larger. That's generally a pretty good practice to engage in. So like if you're on your challenge submission, for example, we're viewing these on typically 1080p monitors, but sometimes they can be larger. I'm sure Brandon has a very large monitor perhaps. So generally it can be a good idea to kind of stop that scaling. And then the background will just kind of keep going, and the design itself will continue to get larger. So something to consider. And okay, I see there's actually a really good question in here. Oh, and there's another one by Wix, by Robert. So we'll see. Is it better to use view height and view width or other properties? Okay, yes, Brandon is correct. You are about to open up a can of worms. It really depends, actually. So yeah, it depends on your use case. So there are several different kinds of scaling units. And there's only one kind of non-scaling unit, pixels. And I guess there's points, PT, but no one really uses those. There's pixels, and I guess EM as well. But to your question, view height and view width. There's also percentages, and then there's Wix's special scaling pixels, which I turned off. I turned on advanced settings, so we can't actually see them. But yeah, there were scaling pixels, which under the hood are kind of just the same as percentage and view height and view width. It's tough to say for sure. I would say if you're kind of trying to make things the full width of the screen, you want to use view width. If you're trying to make things full height, view height. And then for kind of everything else, miscellaneous bits, percentage is typically good. Under the hood, they kind of do a very similar thing. View height and view width are obviously related to the screen width and height, whereas percentage is related to the parent width and height. So if I had a section that was only kind of 50% of the width, and then I had a container that was set to 50% width, it would actually only be a quarter of the screen, right? Because our parent is only half the screen, and then we're taking up 50% of the parent, which is a quarter of the entire screen. So percentage is relative. View height and view width are kind of absolute to the screen. They're still scaling units, of course. All that is to say, it depends on the use case, but you can kind of get away with using one or the other without a whole lot of issues. But I would say default to percentage if you're kind of choosing between one. Generally, defaulting to percentage is kind of the safer choice. But yeah, I hope that kind of answered your question. And then
before we switch, because
yes.
there's like Erska, why I also like Cole, you did an excellent rendition on a great answer, but also if you guys that all come to design and chat, like I'm always floored by the demonstrations by other people, because to me, exactly like the way that I would answer this is the exact same way that Cole answered this. But there are people like How Play in our design and chat. We have Ari. I think there was even somebody else who was showcasing how to use, maybe it was How Play, but how they use fractions or FR to, in some cases, because it's more responsive or more fluid than percentages, because they keep some things in mind, whereas there's different depending on how anal. Let's just, guys, I'm not a person of big words, okay, so you have to go with me. Depending on how accurate or how very specific you would like to be, there we go, my dictionary kicked in, my thesaurus. Depending on how precise or you would like to be, there's different tools for that. So for me, I like percentages. It's super simple for me to understand with my little pea brain, my little non-thesaurus brain. But if you guys like, that's why, like, someone asked this question in design and chat last week, I think, and How Play just went through how he decided or likes to use FR, and it kind of just blew my mind. I didn't even know you could be used for that. I just was like, oh, FR for real, okay, that's maybe what it stands for, and I don't know how to use it. But yeah, Erska, if you just want to stick with percentages, if you want to play, and even How Play uses VW instead of VH for whatever reason, and that still doesn't click with me, right? Because I'm thinking VH for like height, and VW's for width, but sometimes he like crosses them or mixes them, and somehow it still works. But yeah, that's why the community, like, people do things very different ways, and some ways are more accurate than others. But I just wanted to add that in there. There's many options, but Cole's answer is also a good answer. We just want to rock with that.
Yeah, no, that's that was a very good add-on. I forgot about CSS grids entirely. CSS grids are just a whole nother can of worms when it comes to spacing. Like, you have kind of all of these options right here. But yeah, no, Brandon's description was very good as well. Fractions are very interesting to work with, and often a very good option. Anyways, yeah, Brandon, were there any other questions before we keep going?
There was I think at the end of our demo and build today, let's go and over like the CMS stuff, maybe how we might use CMS, or
sure.
a simple example of how, with what our base build is, how we can use the CMS to very easily change some of the content that we have laid out here. But we'll leave that to the end.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, it looks like Robert has some of that covered. But yeah, we'll talk about that. Okay. So off after that pretty long tangent there, now we need to make this thing responsive. So let's do that. Yeah, now we are using a repeater here, which makes our life pretty simple, pretty straightforward. So let's actually start doing some stuff. I'm going to go ahead and set our section height up a little bit. Yeah, just to kind of give us some more room to work with. And then honestly, once we're done, you could kind of collapse it back down. But I do like to kind of give myself a bit more room to work with. Here, we'll just pop this up a tiny bit. This text isn't really a big deal here. Okay, now let's get into the repeater here. So I'm gonna go ahead first of all and stretch this to the entire width here, and then I'm just gonna center it. If you were, I mean, I guess you could add some padding on the sides here. That would probably be more kind of the professional way to do things, and then you would just left align everything. Yeah, we'll do that, I guess. And then we can kind of set this up to be kind of full width. Perfect. Okay, now I'm going to do something a little interesting here. And what that is I'm going to come into all of our text and I'm going to turn off scale text here. Okay. And the reason for that is right now we have a 3x1 layout. Okay. So we have 3 columns and 1 row. And what we're going to do on mobile, once we switch, is we're going to flip that whole thing. Okay. So we're going to do, right now we have a 3x1. We're going to flip that to be a 1x3. So 1 column and 3 rows. Okay. And so that means that we can keep our text sizes exactly the same without having a whole lot of scaling issues, because we're going to be stacking things in a different orientation. And that's going to open up a lot more room for us, even as the screen size gets smaller. Okay. So you'll see what I mean once we actually start switching over. So yeah, I'm just going to turn everything off, and then we'll bump up the text a little bit, something like that. And we can kind of slide these down a little. Perfect. Okay. And then I'm also going to do the same thing here. We'll bump this up maybe to 14-ish pixels. And let me actually grab the stack here, and I'm going to drag this out to be kind of more full width. Doesn't need to be exactly full width, but yeah, something like that is good. And the nice thing about a repeater, we make one change and it's going to go through, so we don't need to make the same change every time. Oops. Okay, there we go. And last but not least, let me hop in here and we'll grab this, turn that off, and we'll also bump this up. Maybe to 14 is a little large. Let's do 13, something like that. And I'm also gonna make this vector a little bit larger. So let me hop in here. Yeah, and another, to add on to that point, Urska, if you're working with very small things that don't change size a lot, like this, then setting them to an absolute value, like pixels, is generally, kind of your best option. Okay. Yeah. So just a little add-on, little note there. And then the last thing here is I'm going to squeeze this line down just a touch. Let's do 180 pixels, something like that. Yeah, that should be pretty good. Okay. So that's looking reasonably good on tablet, as well as on desktop, obviously. So now coming into mobile, obviously, like I said, we're going to need to flip this so that, because we obviously can't fit everything sideways here. So what I'm going to do is from cards, there are actually a lot of very interesting options with repeaters. I do recommend you play around with them. Sliders are very interesting, actually. And I think we've actually played around with them in a future or in a past workshop. But what we're going to select is list here, okay? And clearly I'm once again running out of room here. So let me set this up to be a lot taller. Good, something like that. Just give it some more room. Yeah, so first of all, clearly I did not turn off scale text here. So let me bump this up once again, make it a little larger. And then, yeah, pretty much we're just kind of going to be making some small adjustments here. That's the nice thing about repeaters. It handles a lot of the issues that you're going to have for you. And so you don't really need to do a whole lot of work. Yeah. Awesome. So yeah, I've just set up the gap a little bit, and then I'm also going to, first of all, hop into this stack, and we can make this kind of larger. I should have set this from scaled pixels to regular pixels, but I forgot to do that. So that's okay. And then yeah, once again, we'll kind of bump this stuff down, and then we can hop into this whole stack here and kind of drag it out, make it a little wider. Yeah, once again, we are using scaled pixels here, but we could, okay, never mind. We don't have percentage here. So I guess scaled pixels it is. Yeah, or we could do max content, but that isn't going to work super well for us. Okay. And then the last thing here, let me grab this and we'll do something like 20-ish pixels or so. That should be good. Now we do have a lot of kind of extra height here. So first of all, okay, yeah, this line is kind of the right height, but this item, we have a min height on there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and drop that down a little less. And actually we could probably just say none, and it'll just close up to kind of our largest element, just like so. And there we go. So, so far we have made that whole thing responsive, right? This looks pretty reasonable throughout all of our screen sizes. So that's really good to see. However, nothing actually counts up yet. Nothing moves. So let's do that next. And Brandon, for this part, it will require some code. So close your eyes if you don't like it. But I have, okay, good. Thank you. I have made it super easy to edit and change if you guys are going to use this. However, the template is on our website here, and I should actually go through that. I forgot to do that at the start. If you want to grab this template, just hop into resources and component library, and then scroll down, and it'll be the first one right here. I don't know why it's super blurry. Okay, there we go. And you can see kind of the GIF right here. This is exactly what we're going to build. You can also grab all of the other ones that we have in here. I think there's like 25 or more. But yeah, if you copy this layout as is, then there won't be any code for you to edit. You can just copy this, start building in there. Everything will work perfectly, guaranteed. However, if you're going to kind of recreate this or build it on a different website, then you will need to copy over this code. However, I've tried to make it quite simple for you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and paste this in, and let me kind of drag this up. So I'm going to actually close all these. These functions you don't need to worry about at all. Okay. Yeah. So all of this, don't worry about it. The only stuff that you will ever need to edit is right at the top. Super easy to edit. I'm going to explain what each and every one of them does. Don't worry about the rest of this. Okay. It's designed to work kind of without you needing to do anything, which is good. Okay. So first of all, what we need to do is we need to grab the ID of our repeater. So you just select it, you see the repeater, it says repeater 1. This also says repeater 1. If you had more repeaters on your website, this would probably say like repeater 2, repeater 3, repeater 4. Okay. So you just need to pop that in there. Okay. And then next we need the text element ID. All that is we just hop in here and we grab this. So in this case, it's not text 12, it's text 5. Or you could rename it to something actually useful and intelligent. I am not going to, but you certainly could. Okay. And then the last kind of really important one here is trigger element. Okay. This is what's going to trigger our code to start running. Okay. Now you could set this to be anything. You could set this to be the text. You could set this to be the element up here. However, it probably makes the most sense to set it to also be repeater 1. Or you could even set it to be something further down, okay? And so this means that this is going to be kind of fully in view before it starts playing, okay? Something like that. Or you could even set it to be kind of one of these text elements down here. So once again, it's kind of more in view, okay? I hope that kind of makes a little bit of sense. But yeah, without worrying about these other two, we'll go over those in a second. If I hop into preview here, it takes a second for the code to run, but you'll see everything sets down to 0, and then it counts up all at the same time to the number that we've set. So you don't need to punch in any numbers. You don't need to do anything. You just set up your UI, you paste in the code, you set your repeater ID and you set your text ID, and you're good to go, okay? I don't think it can get a whole lot simpler than that. Okay. Now there are two other things down here. There is delay time and time frame. So let's focus on time frame first. It's a little easier to understand. This is the amount of time where it goes from 0 to whatever number you've written in here. Okay, so right now we have 2000, which is 2000 milliseconds or 2 seconds. Let's set that up to something like 7. So 7 seconds here, or 7,000 milliseconds. So obviously it's going to count up a lot slower, and you can kind of adjust this to whatever you want. 2 seconds, 3 seconds seems to be kind of the sweet spot. 7 is a little long, but yeah, you could absolutely set it up to be something like that if you wish. And then the last thing we have here is delay time. Now this is optional. You can set this to be as little as 1 millisecond. You can set this up to be basically any number. But the reason that we do that is, let me kind of bump this up. So this is, let's say 2 seconds. We're going to delay for 2 whole seconds. So right here at the top, we would be kind of scrolling down. And actually that didn't work out too well. Let me redo that demo real quick. So we're right at the top now. And our user lands on the page, right? And so they're scrolling down, you know, they're reading through this, and then they land on this. So we kind of want to just delay a tiny bit to allow them to kind of actually see this and actually see that it starts at 0 before we start counting up. Okay. You could do this with the delay, which I've done, or you could set the trigger element to be something lower down. So then they have to scroll lower before this actually starts counting. It's up to you, gives you a little more flexibility, but I kind of like it. I kind of like to have the flexibility of setting a delay time. So we have 800 milliseconds in there, or 0.8 of a second. Okay. Yeah, so that is all of the code you'll need to edit, just those 5 lines. Don't worry about the rest of it. You just copy it in, you paste it in, and you are good to go. Brandon, is there something to add?
No, well, yes. Nothing to add to what you said, just a definitive period. As if you guys are like me and basically you went mute, deaf, and blind for the last 5 minutes. I'm joking. I was watching, I was trying to learn, but just in case you're like a designer and you're like, what do I need to copy and paste? Or where do I need to copy and paste it? Listen, Cole's a dope guy. He's a smart guy. But this is why we have literally put this together for you guys in our template library. If you guys are not on YouTube, then you don't have access to the template, okay? Literally, we packaged this all for you, just what Cole has on his screen. This is on the newform.community / I don't know what the / is, but this is on the newform.community website. It's a long / but literally just go to our resources menu, and there will be the component library, and you will see all of our templates, all of our components that we have put together for you guys for literally the past 2 years, something like that.
2 years, yeah.
There's quite a few things here. We have full websites, we have full components, and it's literally for you guys for free to download, play around with, and explore. So if you guys were tired, if you guys enjoyed it, cool, awesome. But if you got, whether you understood it, whether you didn't, all I'm saying is you can download this whole project for free at newform.community. And all of that is on our YouTube. The direct link to the project is on YouTube. You guys can go either directly to the site or simply just go to, if you're on Instagram, comment YouTube. If you're on Instagram, comment YouTube.
Yes.
And we'll send you an automatic DM to our YouTube account. And you can go into the link in the description of this video and get the exact project. Sorry, my wires are crossed today. I keep looking at my empty coffee cup and being like, damn. All right, anyways, continue, Gold. I just wanted to share that.
Perfect. Yeah, thank you for adding that. Awesome. So that is all of the code that you'll need. And I just wanted to point out a couple other nice, somewhat useful features. So the first thing is, while you probably shouldn't put any text in here, if you were to, for example, you just forgot and you put in a number, I think we'll just go ahead and get rid of that text, and we'll just put in the number. So if you have any text in there, don't put it in the text with the number. Have it be kind of separate. But if you do, everything will still work just as well. Okay. Another interesting thing is this is modular. This scales up as much as you want. So I'm going to duplicate one of these, and then let me actually get these all in the same line here real quick. Here we are. Okay, perfect. So let's say we have more of these, right? And you wanted to have 4 or 5 of them or 6 of them, then you totally could, right? So if we just set this to like a random number, 65, And let me get rid of this A. Everything is going to work perfectly. You don't need to do anything else with the code. It'll set down to 0, and then it'll count up exactly to that number. So it's entirely modular. You can have as many as you want in a row. Everything will still work kind of as intended. And yeah, so that's kind of all of the code that we need to go through. However, we did want to kind of cover the CMS a little bit here. So let me just hop in here and actually make a new collection. I haven't prepared any of this, so we'll just be doing this kind of on the fly. But I'm going to start by making a new collection here, and we will start from scratch here. So let me just set this to random name, numbers, and we do want this to be a multi-item collection, okay? So we're going to go ahead and create this, and then let's start adding some fields real quick. So with the CMS, you basically want a column for every piece of information that you're going to have in your repeater. Okay, so rapid growth, that'll be one column, right? This kind of like tagline at the top, the number, obviously, the the icon, or whatever you want to call this here, right? The percentage sign, and then the subtext under here as well. So we need 4 separate rows all to do that. So let me hop back into the CMS here, and we will create those. So the title, we're just gonna kind of keep that as the number, okay? And then I'm just gonna create a few lines, or a few columns here. So the first one is gonna be our tagline right at the top. Next, we're gonna set, I'm gonna call it icon. I know it's not an icon, but I'm gonna call it icon. And then the last thing here is we need our description right at the bottom. Okay, so description, like so. Okay, perfect. So then we can actually start adding in some items. So I don't know, I'm just making stuff up because I can't see what it says, but let's say just super fast. And then the icon, that is an X, and then our description is just like kind of, some descriptive text. So I'm just going to write text. Okay. And let me just do one more. Actually, we'll do all 3 so that you kind of get a better feel for it. So we'll just say extra fast here. That's not how you spell it, but that's okay. Percentage sign, and then more text right here. And then finally, I think we had 200, and then ultra fast, and a K, and then extra text, something like that. Okay, so you would have your database set up just like so, and then you can kind of just leave it as it is right here. Okay, we can exit out of there. It's saved, and just remember it's called number. Okay, and then all we do is we hop into the repeater like so, and we can come over to the CMS connections tab right here. And this is actually where repeaters get very powerful. I would say they're probably one of the more useful elements on Wix, other than like text and images. So in here, you have a ton of different collections already made, but you want to select the one that you have made. And the dataset name, we'll just call it number as well. Something like that. Okay. Now, what's going to happen is Wix is going to automatically go through and see all of the connections that could be made, some of which we'll ignore, like vector art. We don't need to change that, but the rest of them we can actually go through and change. So right now we're editing the description down here. So we would just come in here and grab description. This is the column that we just made, and it's going to change that description as well as the other descriptions, which is super nice. We are also going to come in here and we will connect this to the title, right? Yeah. Now we'll talk about mirroring in a second. Right now it's flipped, but we will get to that in a second, right? If you wanted the 5 over here and you wanted the 200 over here, we'll talk about how to do that in a second. It's actually pretty straightforward. And then the last thing here is our tagline. Oh, and we also need our icon. So let me grab that in here, and we'll do our icon just like so. Okay, perfect. So now all of that data that we just put into the CMS, it has popped in here. Me and Brandon use CMSs for basically everything on our website because it's just a table. We just input information. We don't need to touch any of the design, any of the code, nothing. Everything is kind of just in that table. You fill it out and you're done. Okay. Now, we do, things are kind of flipped right now. And I think this is probably a common problem that you might face. And so what we're going to do is we have a sort right now. But what we're going to do is we're going to come into our CMS and we're actually going to turn on mirror content real quick. So right now, as we have it, 5 is at the bottom, 200 is at the top, which means 200 ends up on the left and 5 ends up on the right. But we want to flip those. So first of all, what I'm going to do is we're going to apply a new filter here. And right now, I believe we're filtering by the created date. Actually, sorry, not a filter. We need a sort, not a filter. So created date right here. And we will do, I think newest to oldest. No, oldest to newest, sorry. Let's do that. There we go. So now 5 is at the top. Okay. You would think, great, we're done, right? 5 is going to appear on the left and 200 is going to appear on the right. Well, it doesn't. Okay. You're still going to get the same kind of thing right here because we have not turned on mirror on site yet. Okay. So we go ahead and we hit mirror on site. And now hopefully, if we preview this, yes. Okay. It has actually flipped now. So we have 5 on the left and 200 on the right, because now we're mirroring how it looks in the CMS on the actual website. Okay. So yeah, that was a bit of a breakdown for you guys. I hope that kind of made a little bit of sense. You could absolutely use CMSs for almost every single thing on your website. Sometimes it makes more sense than others, but when you're using a repeater, it almost always makes sense to kind of use a CMS and yeah, go from there. So that is, I think, everything from me. If there are any other questions, then please feel free to let me know. But yeah, we've gone ahead, we've made our counter, we've made it fully responsive. And yeah, that wraps it up from me.
All right, awesome job, Cole. That was very fluid. Appreciate also the demo of the CMS. So hopefully, Ari, you're able to see that a little bit more, how much easier, and also Urska, since you're in here, just the actual use case of the CMS, how you can just have a design, a single page, or a dynamic page, and populate that page with data in the CMS. So Cole did a 2-parter today for you guys. And within the time frame, we still have a good chunk. So with the rest of the time that we have about 10 minutes, but we're going to try to keep it short because I think we've gone through a couple of the questions that you guys had already. But we still have some time, and we want to make sure that you guys get all your questions answered, if anything. I know, Urska, you were saying, should I use a CMS when it comes to a store? Absolutely yes, because you probably have a ton of items, and you don't want to make a page for each and every item. You simply just want to have a dynamic page that is fed into it, the CMS, with all your different data points. And I think we even have I have a feeling we have a workshop, an old workshop, that details that. But I'll have to go deep diving, but it's somewhere on our YouTube if you just want to take a little bit of a look-see around, because we've definitely done an e-commerce bit. But yeah, thank you guys for showing up. As usual, again, if you guys want to download this and you guys are watching on Instagram, comment YouTube. Will send you an automatic DM to you with the link to our YouTube, and you can find our latest live stream, and you can look in the link in the description to download everything that Cole just went through today. On top of that, if you guys are on YouTube and you have yet to go in the description box to find the link and you want to, it's in the description box. And last thing from me, if there are no other questions, I'm going to take a peek at Instagram in just a second. But the challenge deadline is right around the corner, the 21st. Get your things in. But we're super excited for this month's challenge and seeing everybody's submission. But I think that is all of the house cleaning items for today. Let me see. I'm just going to do a quick run through on Instagram. And I think, all right, no Instagram questions. So last bit here, and then I'll go over to you, Cole, and let, if you have something to close with. Today at 1 p.m. EST, you guys know what day it is. It is a Wednesday. So we have design and chat at 1 p.m. EST. I'm going to, after this, go eat really quick and then come meet you guys in the design and chat, where we can go in more depth on any questions you guys didn't feel comfortable asking here. Or we can just have a hangout session. Wednesdays in design and chat are essentially times to learn how to overcome some of the struggles that you're dealing with in Wix Studio or in design in general. It's kind of the time to share what it is that you've been building, working on, excited about in design. It's really just a time to work through challenges, meet each other. If you're new to the community, we would love to meet you. You get to meet us a little bit, what's it called? It's not show and tell. I guess it is, but that's the wrong terminology. It's a meet and greet, but there we go. It's not show and tell. But it's many things. So if you guys have questions, if you guys just want to hang out, if you guys want to share some of your work, come to 1 p.m. EST, our event in Discord. So if you guys are new, if you guys are not part of the community already, and you're on Instagram, comment to join. We'll send you an automatic DM with all our information about NewForm. If you guys are watching this for the first time on YouTube, links to our community are also in the description. Cole, anything else to close us out with?
Yeah, thank you guys so much for coming. We really appreciate all of the support and stuff. And yeah, we hope to see you guys around the community.
All right, cool beans. We'll see you guys then. Thank you guys for coming. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Adios.